Good day, fam. It's another episode of Live Life, Be Happy 24/7. It's me, the man of the hour, also known as the legend. I just want to say, thank you to all our fams out here, our international fans, for all the support that you have given us. It's an incredible milestone on this amazing journey around the world. Today, we have a very interesting guest, and it's our fan, Radio Wigwam, and it's a Christian. I've had the opportunity to connect with Christian via emails, but we never met formally, so consider this a formal introduction. So, Christian, how are you doing today, man?
Hey, John, I'm fine. How are you?
I'm doing great. I want to give you kudos. I'm so happy of being part of the Radio Wigwam family and the nice welcome that you have given Wanda and myself. And we're excited about this, man. Totally.
It's a real pleasure to be here. Thanks for inviting me onto your show.
Well, great. Now, I was looking at all the stuff that you're doing in social media, and I said, I got to get Christian on here to kind of learn about your journey and to be able to share that with our global audience. So as I always say to my guests, I'm just going to kind of step to the side, and I wanted you to navigate us to who is Christian and who is Radio Wigwam.
So I'm Christian John. I'm the co-founder of Radio Wigwam, and we are a UK-based internet station. Mm-hmm. And I can give you a little bit of a background of how it came into existence. So, I've always been very keen on music all through my whole life, obviously. So I remember it was in 2015, my family and we were on holiday in France. We were driving through France for 2 weeks, and I don't know if you've ever had the pleasure of going to France, but French radio for 2 weeks in the car stereo was not great. And it was a big challenge for us, and the car we had wasn't very fancy enough to have a proper digital radio or anything like that. So we were subjected to just pretty bad music for 2 weeks. And that got me thinking, because really we stopped listening to radio really generally for a number of years. And the reason for that was because a lot of radio stations out there just weren't cutting it for me. There was a few stations I would listen to, but generally it was all playing the same music, and music generally that wasn't my cup of tea. So you sort of fell out of love with radio. So it was on that holiday I decided, well, I'm going to see if I can do this myself. Okay. And so when I got back to the UK, I had a chat with 5 other friends. I'm from South Wales, and all my friends are from South Wales, and we've been very close as a group for longer than I care to share. And we decided to go and do it ourselves. The beauty of internet radio, it's very simple to do. It's very easy to set up. And before long, we were broadcasting. So that was in 2016. So there's 6 of us who founded it. A few fell away after a while when they realized how much effort it was going to take, but then a few of us remained. There's 2 of us out of the original 6 that are still there, myself and Michael Green. Okay. And so Radio Wigwam is now 7 years old. We started off playing the music that we like, a bit of rock, a bit of metal, a bit of indie, whatever we liked. That was the whole beauty of having our own station. We could play what we wanted. What we didn't realize at the time was that there's just so many emerging artists out there. So many independent artists, singer-songwriters, bands, you name it, all over the world, obviously, that were trying to make it, trying to get heard. And as I said to you earlier, the stations that are out there generally are just playing the same old. Yeah. And so what we became quite quickly was a conduit for all these independent artists. And the more you listen, the more you realize there's really a lot of great stuff out here. And so we've been investing our time in that for the last 7 years, really.
That's good. And that's what piqued my interest, especially when I caught the award show online. And I was like, when I get an opportunity to talk to you, I found it extremely fascinating, the various artists that you have and how it all works. And my question was, how do you guys support that? Because it's a culmination of a multitude of various genres. So it's like, wow, that's a lot.
We've been doing the awards since 2017. It started off as very small. It started off, about 7 or 8 awards for best rock category, best indie category, best pop, etc. And it was largely dictated by the music that we were receiving. We were getting sent thousands of emails and different ways of being sent music. And basically we have a number of shows dedicated to independent artists. If artists appeared on those shows, then essentially they would qualify for being in the awards. We have some rules, but very few, to be honest with you. So over the years, we have so many submissions, so many great tracks. It's sort of organically expanded because of that. So in the last few years, we now have pretty much a stable 15 categories, ranging from best indie, best pop, best R&B even. That sort of comes and goes sometimes. But what we did this year was a very exciting turn of events this year. We started broadcasting our awards live.
Okay.
In the COVID period, we started doing it over Zoom, where we could, really host these things and people could watch on Facebook Live. But this year we had our first physically live awards, and it's a real key differentiator for us. There's not many bodies out there doing awards for independent artists. There are some, but it's a key differentiator for us, and that's why artists like us. We do something a little bit different and try and give back to the industry. So we did a live awards in London. It was very popular, and we had 15 categories. And we were always saying internally, I hope people will come. If people are from London, I'm sure they'll come. But what really surprised us, people came from all over the world.
Yeah, I noticed that. Yeah, I was like, wow.
No, I know, it was crazy. We had artists coming from Europe. We had from Norway, Sweden, from the Netherlands, but we even had artists coming from the US. It really surprised us, and that was amazing. It really helped us know that people were believing in what we did if they were willing to come. But ultimately, it's a hard slog for independent artists. They really have to put in a lot of effort, a lot of time. That everybody wants validation, that they want to know that people want to play it on the radio or people like it. But then to be nominated for an award, this could be the only opportunity for people to get something. So people really buy into it. And it was, every year has been our most successful awards. And the one we had in January this year was our most successful award yet. And to see people coming from abroad, not in the UK, to come over and take part of it was absolutely brilliant. We had an award winner, probably the highlight of the night. One of the award winners, the best international female, was from the US, Rhonda Ray.
I remember that, yes.
And I don't know if you remember the speech she gave. It was very emotional.
It was, yeah.
and you could see it meant so much, and that meant so much then to us. But also, what she hit the nail right on the head was the whole event that was all about a community spirit. So what you had in the room were several hundred independent artists. They all go through the same problems. They're all trying to fit things in around, working for a living or maybe doing it full time and really having to go from gig to gig wherever they can get them, but everyone could relate to the same problems. And, Rhonda captured it amazingly well to say we have this community spirit. And we never thought we'd have that when we set up Radio Wigwam. And it's definitely what gives us the most pride and satisfaction to see that we're giving something back to these incredibly talented artists who are struggling to make it, to get heard.
Sure. When I saw the whole awards from beginning to end. Wanda, my co-pilot and our good friend, she said, yeah, you definitely have to check it out. And, because we had an artist, Johnny Starks, who was nominated.
That's right, yeah.
Yeah, and I was very impressed, my friend. I was just like, wow. And she's like, we got to go next year. I'm like, yeah, we're going, because I was very impressed how it was done. I mean, kudos to you and your team. I mean, you had all the right points. And what I felt, the takeaway is independent artists, you showed them love. You showed them love, no matter where they came from the world. I saw like dance music, pop, rock, metal. You showed them love. And that's what I saw as Radio Wigwam being very unique in what they do. So great job with that, man.
That's very nice of you to say. We spend a lot of time cultivating that. We spend a lot of time listening to music, promoting it as much as we can. It's very nice that you would say that.
Yeah.
So thank you.
You're welcome. Now, my next question, I always like to ask my guests, in terms of the global pandemic, how did you kind of navigate through some of the challenges? Because we know that music performances came to like a standstill and concerts were like quiet globally. So how did you kind of work through that process and to kind of help inspire these creatives?
Well, it gave us some opportunities that, nobody saw it coming, to be honest, but it actually... the evolution of technology actually helped us. As I mentioned earlier, we did our awards on Zoom, for example. The reason we did that was because of COVID. So we were normally doing let's just to say about the awards, we were generally doing that, on radio shows. Okay. But because of COVID, everyone was using Zoom or an equivalent, and it suddenly gave us this opportunity to do these things, live globally. Mm-hmm. So that was one thing. But as you rightly say, people weren't gigging anymore. Independent artists weren't able to gig out there. A lot of people were performing online. So they might have had online gigs where over Facebook Live or Instagram or YouTube, where their fans would watch them online. They couldn't see them in the flesh, but that was the next best thing. Okay. So one of the things that we did over that period, we had what we called a live covers lounge, where we invited artists to record them singing a cover. Okay. And then we put it on our Facebook channel, our YouTube channel, things like that. But the real thing that we sort of gave us a little bit of an extra footprint, I'd say, is that we did an online festival. Wow. And it was mad, because it was like, the way I think about it, it was like Live Aid, but online, right? And when Live Aid happened in the 80s and earlier this century, the majority of the artists you were watching on TV anyway, right? Unless you were lucky enough to be in Philadelphia or London, you were watching it on TV. And we were doing, it was crazy to think about it, but we were doing exactly the same thing. So we were having artists from Los Angeles, artists from Thailand, artists from all over the world, all coming together in this one place. And we were doing it from midday to midnight, our time, but that was obviously different times in different parts of the world. So we had a 3-day festival right in the middle of lockdown, and artists were queuing up to be on it. I think we had about 30-40 artists, something like that. We had to test the technology. We had to make sure everybody did a sound check, because the wholly unique thing that we did, actually, we broadcast it on Facebook Live, but we did it on Zoom. So I don't know if you remember, at the beginning of COVID, you might have had Zoom or Microsoft Teams or something like that, but it evolved very quickly. The beginning of COVID, there was only a few basic features. Right. But after a few months, because the whole world was using it, these companies were developing their software even more. And so by the time we had our festival, our online festival, it was you were able to, the sound quality was so good. If you knew how to change a few settings in Zoom, you could have people performing. Yeah. So you could have, if you had only needed your phone, or for some reason it works better on a phone. Yeah. But if you were recording, you could have a band being recorded on a phone and it sounded really good, and then beam it over Facebook Live. It was mad, but it worked. All right, cool. 90% of it worked, and it was really good. Even though the whole world was going through this crisis, there were some positive sparks, through COVID. And being an online station, we were able to keep going as we were, because people could do it from home, could record shows at home. And so it didn't have that much of an impact for us. But conversely and perversely, it allowed us to have a few opportunities away. And the most important thing was we were able to, artists were still able to perform and get out there to fans and win some new fans. There was some positive rays through COVID for the station and the programs that we put on.
Well, that's great. And thank you for sharing, because I see as COVID, not so much as a bad thing for me, but it kind of, we'll say, magnified a lot of the things that I'm doing right now through this technology. So when you use the technology, you do get some really good results. And I will have to say, everything's been done through tech. So I would say kudos for that. And it seems as you cracked the code on that, because you have a huge following. You're doing some really amazing things with artists. So definitely, I would say I commend you on that.
Well, thank you. We couldn't do it without the artists. As I mentioned earlier, we didn't set out to be, global supporters of independent artists. But when you see how much talent there is out there, you want to support it, and you think, why aren't these guys playing at the King Charles III coronation? They're much better than playing the usual same old. So, we want to get behind these artists, and we cultivate our social media and our brand to enable that, and long may it continue.
Good. Next question I have to ask is, what's new on the horizon for Radio Wigwam?
That is a good question. Trying to stay fresh, trying to always evolve is a challenge in itself. So, as I say, we've been going for 7 years, and we've been growing year on year. And we do have plans for the future. So a big plan last year, for example, was we wanted to hit the live space ourselves. You know, we'd done the virtual live things. Now we wanted to do real live things. So I mentioned the awards. We did that live, but that was like the third or fourth live event that we did. And last year we started having a few Radio Wigwam gigs. We started small and we're gradually building up. And now we're with our partner Jammer. We've got a good avenue of getting to lots of really prestigious establishments. You know, in London especially. So the plan is for the future is to get more into the live space, get more artists that we know and that we're supporting, getting them more gigs. That's a real big focus for us. This year we started getting into the festival arena.
Okay.
We hosted our first festival and sponsored the first festival, and then there'll be another one in August, the Wokingham Festival. So we're hoping to do that, you know, and grow and expand with that over the next year or two. Okay. You mentioned also about social media. Now we've got lots more live content. We've started to make podcasts. So the next stage for that is we're going to be releasing our TikTok channel. Okay. We've invested in, you know, some people who are younger than me that understand the social media concepts a bit better. So the eagle-eyed people out there might have noticed that we're starting to, you know, do a bit more contemporary social media content, but that's all part of a plan to liven it up and make it more friendly for, let's say, tech-savvy or younger audiences that need to be hearing this music. And that's what it's all about. So, yeah, more technology is coming and more live gigs. That's what we're looking at in the future. You mentioned you're coming to the awards next year. We've just, you know, it's actually a bit of an announcement I can make, actually. We're going to be having our awards the 25th of January next year. All right. But on top of that, we've also having a pre-awards party the night before. Okay. So always bigger and better. That's what we always want. So we're going to be really having a lot of cool artists before and during the awards. Just enjoy it a bit more. This year was a bit of a test. It worked. So let's go further. Let's keep going. And let's make it bigger and better every time.
I want to pop it on my calendar. I'm looking forward to that. You know, thank you for
there you go.
Information. Great. Now, as we come to a close, I always like to ask my guests to share a personal quote, something as a takeaway that can help our international family and listeners on their own journey and life purpose. So you have the stage as I sit back and listen.
Well, the best that I can do at the moment, rather than having a is that we have various mottos that we have in the radio station. And the one that has hit home the most, the one that seems to resonate with our audience is good music for good people. So by that, we play what we like. Nobody tells us what we play. There's no agenda with what we play. If we like it, we'll play it. And that's what we do. And we support those artists for who we like the good music. So good music for good people.
Well said. Well said. As we come to a close, please share with our international family where we can find Radio Wigwam, on which platforms we can support you, because I always like to put it out there for the guests, because we have such a vast community. We're huge on support here. And that's what I like. You know, we want support. So wherever you're at, you know, just kind of let us know, and then we can all know, so we can come support you and the wonderful things that you're doing with your team, with Radio Wigwam. So please share that.
Of course. So you can find us at radiowigwam.co.uk online. And there are many ways of getting to that. So these days, people can find us on their smart speakers. So on their Google or Apple devices or their Amazon devices. And if you go to TuneIn or you go to your smart speaker and say play Radio Wigwam or play Radio Wigwam on TuneIn, that's how to find us. You can get us on your mobile. You can get us on your PC. A lot of clever people can even get you in the car. So that's how you find us. We're online.
All right. Thank you. Well, Christian, thank you again for taking that time, because I know you're a busy person to do the interview. I'm glad I finally met you formally, because I'm fine with the email and text. That's for the kids. I mean, we're growing adults. Let's do this live.
Absolutely, my friend.
Thank you.
No, it's been an absolute pleasure.
Yeah, man. I always like to call the guests back in the near future to see what they're doing, again, how we can support you as well. But I just want to thank you again, and kudos to you and your team for what you're doing for indie artists and indie music, because that's huge right now.
Well, you're welcome, and we're delighted to also be promoting the very best of Canada independent artists as well. So thank you for letting us hear all that great music.
Thank you, my friend. And until again, man, you take care.
You too. Have a great time. All the best.